Good morning. Why should you be thinking about moving? You move from a big city out to the country. 80,000 people left New York City. 80,000 left last year from New York City. Hey, I wonder why they're moving. Why are people of all ages moving from big cities out to the country? Welcome to Goose Pond Hideout with Rob. I grew up a middle-class kid raised in a middle-class family. Yep. My mother raised my younger sister and me in a Sears home, a home from Sears, purchased and built by my grandfather. That's right. Sears home built by my grandfather. My mom worked hard. She had big dreams for us. Look at me now, Mom, living the dream on our homestead. So, seriously though. And man, it is wicked cold here today. Yesterday morning was 35, this morning's 37. I'm kind of freezing my babushka off here. I got the wood stove going in the house and fired that up. I ran it yesterday morning, running it this morning. So anyway, I really want to chat with you today about moving from a big city out to the country. Why are so many people leaving the big cities for the country? I mean, 80,000 just in New York City alone last year left. And around here, I mean, we've got people from California and you know, all over moving to our area. So why, and you're probably thinking about, if you're in a city, sorry about that, but you're probably thinking about, you know, what you can do to move out too. So, and with it being so cold, I got a thermal cup here this morning, and I've got herbal tea, peppermint, and some red zinger. So, you know, why are people moving out? What's happened recently to cause this big exodus? And, you know, for you younger folks, you got to think back to the way life was when people moved to the cities. And I don't want to sound like I walked uphill 2 miles through wind and rain and snow both ways to get to the schoolhouse, through 6 feet of snow, you know, all that is, that's what it sounds like. But, you know, the world today has only existed for a short time. I mean, you know, there's no social media, email, texting, Google, the internet itself. I mean, when you go back 100 years or so, you know, everybody was basically like a farmer, right? Hunter, gatherer, you know, you provided for yourself. And, you know, people didn't have electricity. I mean, let alone the internet, they didn't even have electricity. And so there was a big movement with the Industrial Revolution into the cities to manufacture cars and clothing and shoe shops and things. And so this big exodus, people left the country and went into the cities. My grandfather was a farm boy in Wisconsin, and he barely finished middle school, 7th, 8th grade. And he packed it up and moved down to the suburbs of Chicago and worked at a furniture factory. And he was like the color matcher in that, to make sure that the colors on all the different pieces were what they were supposed to be or whatever. But anyway, so, you know, I mean, my grandfather left the farm community in Wisconsin and moved to the Chicago suburbs to work in a furniture factory. And that's what people did. And, you know, they moved into the cities. And why? Because jobs and money, and also the social situation of the cities: entertainment, live music, restaurants, food, all the big pluses, so that people, migrated into the cities. Well, things kind of went south in 2020, 2021, and it's really shifted the dynamic. So people, there's still jobs in the city, but all the restaurants were shut down, all the museums are shut down, there's basically no social life, and the costs have skyrocketed. I mean, to rent an apartment, or to buy a house, and I mentioned it in a video or two ago, but in over 200 cities, a starter home is $1 million plus. I mean, who can afford a starter home of $1 million in the big cities? The crime is through the roof, and events have shown how unstable our society is, how easy it is for things to fall apart. I mean, we just had, not too long ago, the big dock strike with all the dock workers along the East Coast. And within 2 days, all the stores were cleaned out of paper products. No toilet paper, no paper towels. People panicked and ran to the stores and bought everything they could. And the humorous thing with that is paper products are made here in the United States. They don't even come over on the ships or anything like that. So, that's the thing. My own experience in the big cities is, fighting traffic, getting in your car and driving, trying to get to your job, and it takes you an hour to get there. And that's it on a good day, and heaven forbid there's an accident or bad weather or anything, it can turn into 2 or more hours. And kind of funny, because just the other day, 2 or 3 days ago, my wife had a doctor's appointment, and so we were down in the big city from where we live, about 20 miles away, 22 miles, and went to her doctor's appointment. And then we're coming home, and we're driving up the road, and I'm driving along the road that's perpendicular to our street. So I'm driving basically east, like the sun is right here in my face. I'm driving east, and I can see our road up ahead. We're about a mile from the road, and I go, oh my gosh, look at the traffic on our road. I go, I can't believe that. What are people doing on our road? Because it's just, only the people that live on our road should be on our road. And my wife starts laughing, and she goes, it's 2 cars. She goes, there's 2 cars coming down the road. I go, well, there shouldn't be any. So that's my idea of traffic now. But, so the traffic issues, the crime issues, and now because of things like the internet and social media and all of that, I got a tickle. Whew. What am I talking about? Oh yeah, is remote working. I mean, because of what happened in 2020 and 2021, and everybody, went home, and then because of the advancements in the internet and all of social media and everything, is the majority of people today, I mean, a lot of people remote work for the kind of job that you do. I mean, if you're a plumber, an electrician, a emergency room nurse, or whatever, those kind of jobs you kind of have to go to work for, right? But there's a lot of jobs today that you can just work from home. Hey, Bonnie. Remote learning. We're learning remote learning too with school. With colleges and that. Why go to the college when you could just sit in front of your computer and see the same thing? So. So that's, the remote world is very real today, right? So the fact that you can work out in the country, there's less traffic, there's less crime, you've got more open space, you can afford a home, no $1 million for a house out here in the country. You being more self-sufficient, people, because of shortages, and all the things that are happening, in the world, is people are realizing that our grandparents and great-grandparents, had a pretty good way of life where they were far more self-sufficient when they could grow, you know, some of their own food. And you know, my grandma darning socks and patching holes in jeans and taking shoes to the cobbler to get them repaired instead of just running out and buying a new pair, because what happens when those things aren't available? And that, you know, a simpler life is a better life, that you don't have to move into the city and live in a tiny apartment and so that you know, make a crazy amount of money. And just thought of this, back when I was in the real world, back in the 1990s and early 2000s, we moved on to our sailboat. We, you know, shut everything down, got rid of the business, and sold the house and all that stuff, and we moved on our sailboat in 2005. But before that, when we lived in the real world, I had a small business, and I had one employee, and I was up in Maine, and I had a friend that had a camp up close to us, near us, and his business, he was down in the Carolinas, and he was basically the same kind of business as me, and he had 27 employees. And he would stop by and visit when he came up to stay at his camp 2-3 times a year. And he would say, "Oh, Rob, you know, keep your business small. I wished I'd have never grown so big. You know, the headache of having 27 employees and doing, you know, millions of dollars in sales and that. It just keep your business little, you're doing it the right way." And I really appreciated that. And so that's the kind of thing that, you know, you be thinking about is, you know, simpler and smaller is better. You know, the 6-figure income, you just have 6-figure expenses then, and that's really stressful. So when you live out here in the country, you remote work, your cost of living is a fraction of what it is in the city. If there's a shortage of something, it's less likely to hit you out here. You can, you know, grow your own food, raise your own chickens, and your cats and dogs can roam around, and you don't have to worry about anything happening to them. So be thinking about that. Be one of the 80,000 that's leaving the city and moving out to the country. And I'm kind of squinty here this morning, so I hope you don't mind, but I'm freezing my tail off, and the sun, I'm a little bit late. I usually film earlier, my video for you, chat with you earlier in the morning, so the sun's lower down in the tree, but oh well. Be thinking about that and get out here to the country. Freedom! Freedom, freedom, freedom!